Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Manxiety Podcast.
We're your hosts, Ashad and Matt. Before we get started, if you're enjoying this show, please subscribe so you can get notified of new episodes.
If you want to share this with your friends, you can find us on all podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Manxiety Podcast. That's right, kids. It's the Manxiety Podcast, all right? We're not like Facebook. We didn't drop the. We're not that cool. We're not hip.
Yeah, we still spell Manxiety with capitals. Unlike all these other new ones that are all lowercase or all uppercase. What's the deal with that?
Yeah. And we spell the full word, even though it's a made up word. It's not like Tumblr where, we're dropping letters, right? I'm actually surprised Twitter is fully spelled and it's not like TWITTR. Twitter.
Well, why would they just leave out a single letter?
Because that was the thing. Like that was the big thing. Like Tumblr, all these other websites.
Like what, Matt? What other ones? Which other ones, Matt?
I don't know. Fuck, actually.
like Tumblr and all these. Which other ones?
That's actually the only one I know for sure. Like, didn't fucking cuddle up. There's got to be other examples, right? Just Goog instead of Google. It's Goog.
That's not a real thing. I mean, I guess instead of Ask Jeeves, it became Ask.
Ask Jeeves.
No, because it used to be AskJeeves.com.
Yeah, and then it became Ask.com, right?
And then just became Ask.com.
It's too close to saying Ask.com.
Yeah, I was about to say, not to be confused with Ask.com, which will take you to a completely different site.
Pornhub. Like, if you're, typing your search queries into Ask.com. Oh my god, dude. Plumber near me. Oh, Ask.com. That sounds like it's going to work. Handyman in my area.
That's horrible.
Oh my god. You know what else is horrible?
No.
In line with our topic today?
What?
Losing your money while gambling, dude. That's horrible.
That is horrible.
It's terrible.
I was in Vegas this weekend. I did lose my money while gambling. Fact.
You know they tell you up front you're gonna lose money, right?
Do they? No, anytime I walk in there, all I see is jackpot, you can win this much, you can win all that money. Hey, look here, new car. Actually, they don't do that as much anymore. Remember back then when we were young and they used to have cars parked inside the casinos with machines all around them, and you gamble, and if you hit the jackpot, you won the car.
Huh? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you don't see that no more. I don't see cars. Yeah.
Wow, it's probably because the price of a used car is through the fucking roof, so the price of a regular car is too much. They're like, that's the super mega Optimus Prime jackpot. That's not the regular jackpot. That's the next level crap.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Maybe. Or I think it's just because people probably weren't taking the car and they were taking the money. So they're like, why waste space and money bringing a car in when we can just give them the money?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And by give them the money, I mean they're going to take your money.
Right. I mean, funny story about gambling. I don't really play craps. I never learned it. My dad will play craps, and there's a.
It's a lot of fun.
Is it? I've seen people play. I just didn't betting on shit blowing the dice. I'm like, all right, I don't know, what am I doing? Am I lucky? Am I bad? At one point, I went with one of my friends, and he was really drunk, and he started losing when I came over to the table to say hi to him. So he's like, you need to get the fuck away. You're bad luck. It's like, all right, bro. I was talking to my dad about it, and in craps, he'll bet with the house, where you're basically betting against the players at the table because you're betting the same. I don't know, you're betting that it's gonna go back to sevens or something or whatever the rules are.
Yeah, and, a lot of people probably didn't like your dad. That's kind of shunned against.
Right. So he would give people drinks and shit, and then just put it down on the house, right? And then be like, oh, whatever. And then I was talking about aren't you a social pariah when you're you're a dick, right? Why would you bet against the people? And he goes, I don't see the casino going broke. I don't care about these random people I just met, but the casino is still here, right? So I'm gonna bet the way they do. I'm not gonna bet against the casino. That's stupid. And I was like, yeah, and you also gamble all the time. Like you're betting against the casino all the time for yourself. Like, what do you mean? It was just like, it was just funny because
That's pretty funny.
it is a better bet, but it's just like you're kind of a dick. That's like, yeah, I want everybody else to lose. If everybody else loses, I win. Just like the casino. So
Well, yeah. I mean, yes and no, right? Yeah, your odds of winning are a little bit more, but there's also less chances for you to win if you're betting against the players.
yeah, it's a good point.
So, yeah, I mean, depends on what you're trying to do. It is fun, though. I was on a cruise once, and I was playing craps late at night, and someone rolled for, an hour and a half. They couldn't be stopped. They just kept going.
So they just never hit a 7? Is that how it works?
No, they did. So you can hit a 7. Mm-hmm. So the way it works, right, is when it's off, right, there's none of the numbers are on. 7 and 11 pays. Okay? So if you roll a 7 or an 11, whoever bet pays. Now, if it's on, if you roll any number outside of a 7 or 11, that number is now on, right? So now your goal is to roll that number again before you roll another 7. But you can also bet on any of the other numbers. So if, let's say I roll a 6. So now 6 is on. So now what that means is I need to roll a 6 before I roll a 7 or an 11. But you can also put bets on 8 and 9 and 5. So if I roll a 5, 8, or 9, you win that bet. Okay? And then if I roll a 6 again, then it's off. And then I can roll 7s and 11s again. So this guy just kept going. He would roll a number, he would go a while for that, and then he would roll that number again, and he would start rolling a 7 or an 11, and he would go back on, do that again.
When do you switch to somebody else? Why was he rolling for so long?
When you lose. He wasn't losing, that's why.
Oh, okay.
So when he had to roll 7s and 11s, he was rolling 7s and 11s, and when he had to not roll them, he wasn't rolling them.
Ah, okay, gotcha. So
yeah, it was impressive.
Cheating.
No, he wasn't cheating. Everyone won a lot of money, though. It was a very good game.
Good so night. I need to tell my dad that story and be like, that could be you. Everybody could love you instead of betting against them.
Pretty much. Funny enough, I was playing Saturday night, and the casino we were staying at, all the tables are kind of more expensive. We were at the Wynn, and it's a nicer casino, so I think just the limits are a little bit higher. So I was like, all right, let me go and play some blackjack. But all the blackjack tables had $50 minimums. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't want to gamble with $50 minimums. So I found the only game that had a $25 minimum, which was Casino War. And Casino War is a super easy game. You put money, right? You bet money. The dealer deals one card to you and one card to them, and whoever has the higher card wins. Super simple. So I sat there, I played. I basically, it was just me. No one else was there. So I played through the whole deck, and I was doing well. I was up a couple $100. And then as I was walking away, the blackjack table next to me had opened it for 25. I'm like, all right, I'll play some there. So I sat down, played a little bit there, won a little bit more money. And then my uncle called me and he's like, hey, I'm going to play some craps. You want to play together? I was like, yeah, I'm down. So I go to play craps. And I think within a matter of 2 minutes, I lost all the money I'd won plus everything else I had to. Fun times.
Welcome to gambling.
Yeah, I agree. It's fun. But, I mean, the way I approach it, though, is I always set money aside, and I'm like, this is money that... this is the price I'm going to pay to entertain myself for the next 3-4 days, however long I'm in Vegas. And then I usually only use that money.
Usually. I think that's the real important thing, is that it's for entertainment, right? What's kind of crazy is, we kind of want to talk about this because with anxiety, with gambling, there's a lot of excitement, but there's also a lot of anxiety as well, right? you think what Ashad just said of I was up, I didn't want to bet 50, so I bet it lower, and then I played and I won and I won and I won, and then I lost it all. But he set that boundary with himself to say, when I lose this money that I've set aside, I've got my entertainment, I've got my fun. If I win, great. If I lose, that's what I'm walking away with, right? With my head held high. That's it. A lot of people, when they're in a hole, they get anxious, right? Now they're more nervous because they're more reliant on that risk, because high risk, high reward, it has to hit, right? If I just win big this one, I can get out of the hole and then I'll be even. And then once I'm even, I'll stop. But what happens a lot of times is once you're even, you go, well, shit, now I'm even. What if I win now? Right? It's that constant like what if cycle, right? Oh my God, one more hit, one more roll, one more play, one more whatever that people kind of get stuck on. And it can be a real problem. Funnily enough, we're talking about Shaq going to Vegas. I was telling him earlier that I was watching some people stream on Twitch because I didn't know people would stream slot machines. And they're playing like online virtual slot machines. And they're just betting $1,000 a hand. I was watching one guy betting $60,000 a hand.
Wow.
And I'm like, what the fuck is... I'm like taking it... I'm like, is this real? Whatever. And I'm like looking into it. And it's real. They're betting with like Bitcoin and stuff. And it's just crazy because I'm like, that's 60... That's what people make in a year.
Yeah.
And you bet it on, a round of the slot machine, hoping that the bonus hits. I guess he was buying bonuses, so like you're automatically buying a jackpot spin, and I could see why it's fun, right? Because if when it's like rolling through it, it's like, oh my God, yeah, he bet 60 grand, but he won 300,000. I'm like, holy shit! And, I'm sitting there watching it, like tick 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 tick. Oh, is it gonna be the triple red 7 whatever? Oh, is it? And I'm getting that excitement.
Right.
But then the thing is, when he loses, I saw some guy lose like $1 million just betting $1,000 a hand, and I was anxious for him. I'm like, oh my, he's not going to be doing well, dude. I saw, he's down $1 million plus just today. Right now, I mean, he's won big and had all this money and stuff, and like some of these guys are winning $17 million on these slot machines and crap, right? Like crazy ass numbers. But the thing too is like, when you look at it and you see these people that are streamers and they win these crazy numbers and they lose money, well, they have the money to lose because they've already won it. But then everybody else will think, I'm going to hit those numbers too. I'm going to go win. And, if you don't have that boundary and that self-control, it's very easy to be like very, very anxious about it and very fucked.
Yeah, and gambling addiction is very real. It's not just about being anxious about it or being excited about winning or whatever. I mean, obviously everyone gets excited, right? You're even walking through a casino, you hear a slot machine go off and you hear the ding, 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 the jackpot noises. And you get a jolt of excitement just because someone else won, right? It makes you feel like you can be that person too. But, the addiction is a very, very big part of it too. And, there are people out there that just have to play, just like being addicted to anything else, right? It's those little spurts of what's the happy chemical I'm thinking about? Dopamine, right? Those dopamine hits, right? Every time you bet a hand, every time, kind of like taking a risk, right? But it's not it's danger to you monetarily, but not really any danger physically to you. But those small risks and just the excitement of it and kind of like, living on the edge, and it makes people feel alive. But when you don't know how to stop, when to stop, when you're playing outside of your means, right? It is a very big problem, and it's an addiction, and you need to go and get help. I heard of, I was talking to someone, they were saying how one of their friends, was addicted to gambling. And so what he tried to do is he went to the casinos and he's like, hey, I have an addiction. Please don't let me in next time I try to come in. I don't know how well it worked, but I mean, good for him for trying. It's with any addiction, it's hard to get away from it, to stop, but there is help out there, and there is, there's a hotline you can call, and I'm sure, there are people around you, your family, your friends, your loved ones, who would love to help and make sure that you're not going to continue going down this path.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what, my dad was saying earlier of you don't see the casinos going out of business.
Yeah, of course. I mean, casino always has an edge, right? In no matter what the game is, in slot machines, it's their highest edge. Right? Like the slot machines are like money machines for casinos because it's rigged for them to win. The house always wins, right? I'm sure you've heard that.
Yeah.
That's how it is. Every single game, the casino has an edge.
Well,
even games like Casino War, right, which is supposed to be one of the most balanced games. I think it's between that, blackjack, roulette, depending on how you bet and like what you do. But like even Casino War, right, it's a 50-50 chance, usually, right? Because it's a 50-50 chance that you'll win or I'll win, that the card that's flipped is higher. The way that the casino gets an edge in that game, and they make their money, right, is when you go to war. When we open up the same exact card, right, and you want to go to war, and the way war works is I have to double my bet in order to go to war, but the casino doesn't have to double theirs. So I double my bet. We flip open another card. If mine's higher, I only get the initial bet that the casino was making. But if theirs is higher, I lose all my money. Like, I lose both of it. I lose double. And if you decide not to go to war, the casino still takes half your money. So that's their edge.
What?
In this case. Yeah. So that's
Shit, dude.
Again, the casino, the house always wins, man.
I used to play War as a kid, so like I used to love playing that game. But
yeah,
that's bullshit. Oh, you don't want to go to war? War's bad, kids. It's going around the world right now.
So that is the strategy, though, right? Like, you don't go to war. Like, a lot of people go to war because it's exciting and fun,
right?
But like, the way to keep that balance as 50-50 as possible is to not go to war.
Right. Think with
you lose half your bet. Yeah, you lose half your bet, but you give the casino less of an edge, essentially.
Gotcha.
Now, with that said, when I was going through that whole deck, however many decks there is, and I was playing War, we went through most of the deck. I think like 70% of the deck was done until the first time we went to war. And my thing is, I don't go to war if I bet more than the minimum, usually. And like, if I'm feeling it. But I had bet the minimum, and I was like, all right, whatever, screw it. I'll go to war. So I went to war, and I won that one. And then the next time around, I think it was war again, but I had bet too much, so I surrendered, and I surrendered again. And then again, I bet the minimum, went to war, won again. And then went to war, won again. And then on the last, I think it was the very last hand. Same thing, went to war, but I had bet a little bit more. But I was like, whatever, it's the last hand. But I lost, so obviously they took it. But that's the thing, you gotta kind of have that control to surrender when the war happens.
Yeah, and what I learned watching people stream is that for slots, there's like an RTP, which is like return to player, I think.
Yep.
And with physical slots, it's like 60 to 70%. So along the life of the slot machine, right, if you put $100 in, it's only going to pay out $70 to random people. And that could be, calculating a jackpot, right? So like, no matter what you do, 30% of the money is basically just blown away. But of that 70% or 60% that gets paid back to the actual players, a big majority of it might come from one person winning the jackpot.
Right.
So your chances of winning are insane when you look at the numbers, right? Same thing with like the lottery, right? They're like, oh, you're more likely to get struck by lightning 3 times in 3 different Tuesdays or something in a row than winning like the lotto or whatever. But it's like us wanting to believe that there's a chance that we're special, there's something in us, whatever, just that one coin can kind of change your life, right? And I think a lot of it has to deal with people's situations as well, right? A lot of times their casinos are, I guess they're kind of preying on people, but like, I don't know, maybe more attracted to people who have more to gain and like more to lose sometimes, or like less to lose. They feel like, hey, life sucks, but if I can win $10,000 on this hand of poker or the slot machine or whatever, it'll finally change things around. Some people are just in really poor financial situations and they're very desperate for money, and that thing maybe really could change their life around. But if they get addicted to it and then they're just betting everything and they lose more, maybe not. So you really want to like tiptoe with it. If you are going to gamble, it's for, entertainment purposes, of course. And I mean, one of the streamers I was watching made a really good point where he's like, the reason I got into gambling is because of Diablo 2. Because, you're running through like grinding out levels and like a legendary would drop, right? And you get a legendary item and then you go and you like unwrap it basically, or whatever it's called in the game. And then like you get addicted to that high of, oh my God, am I going to get the perfect thing, right? In fact, I have a fun story about Diablo 3 because I almost didn't graduate because I was playing a shit ton of Diablo 3. And one of the reasons I did graduate was because of my friend Ashad here, because I was playing so much and I had a bunch of classes with him my last year. And what did you threaten to do if I played during finals week?
But before I tell you, that's what addiction is, kids. what Matt was doing during finals week, which was, well, not during finals week, during the school year, which was playing Diablo all the time instead of doing anything else. No schoolwork, honestly, really no social life, no nothing, just playing Diablo.
I like, my girlfriend would come over, we would hang out, and then we would like stay up till midnight watching movies over, right? I would like slip out from under her in the bed and I would go to my computer until 6 a.m. and just play fucking Diablo all night. And then like I would wake up at like 11 or something when like she got up or whatever, and she'd be like, yeah, why are you so tired all the time? I was like, I don't know, I'm just stressed out from not going to class and not doing anything. Yeah, and that wasn't even fucking money involved. That was just like the thrill of like, oh my God. And then, you get like the ding drop when it's like a legendary item. Oh, I gotta go reveal it. Oh my God. It's terrible. But anyways,
anyway,
sorry.
So during finals week, I told him that if he played Diablo before his finals were done, I would destroy his computer with a bat. I was also very serious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, his computer did not get destroyed, and he graduated, so I think we're all good.
Yeah, it worked. I actually logged in once during that week. It was like at 3 a.m. because I just wanted to check like whatever the like weekly, I don't know, missions were or something. And I remember like logging in and being like, "Fuck, what if he sees me at 3 a.m?" So I logged out and then I didn't play. But what, funnily enough, actually broke that kind of addiction to kind of like the gambling side of it was me and one of my
bat to your computer.
No bat. no bat for the mat. What actually broke it was me and my friend at some point. He found like one of those, like auto bots or something, right? It was like something where it's like, oh, it's just going to play the game for you and it's just going to do exactly what you say and you can do it while you sleep. So, okay. And it would give you stats on like, oh, like the drop rate for this item, because we're looking for like certain items to make like our character builds and like run through stuff. And I let it run. I was like, all right, I'll do this on like an account like I don't care about it, right? If it gets banned, don't care. And I let it run for like weeks and weeks and weeks. And I compared what I was doing versus what it was doing. And everything was trash. It wasn't giving me good legendaries. It wasn't giving me good items. It wasn't doing what I wanted. And I was like, well, if I had played for those 12 hours, I would have kind of had the same result, right? Now, I know it's slightly different, right? Me playing versus the computer, whatever. But it made me realize that in the grand scheme of things, I'm not going to get the perfect rolls in the gear that I want. I'm not going to get everything that I'm really striving for. it's really, 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 really rare that it happens. In fact, it's legendary that it happens, hence legendary items. And at that point, I was like, oh, I'm wasting my time doing this when I could be doing something much more productive with my time, investing in myself, investing in the fucking stock market before it took a shit, all these different things. So, yeah, sometimes, it takes those moments where somebody threatens you, or not you, but your computer with a bat, and they're really scary because, in college they had a shaved head, and they looked very mean, and, you respected them, but you were also afraid of them a little bit still, to make you see the light,
Yeah, that threat of a bat to his computer still stands. So whenever Matt gets too into something that is wasting his time, I always gotta put some bad imagery around, remind him of the pact that we made years ago.
Now what I do is I go to Craigslist and I go to estate sales and stuff, and I buy old computers, and I have little dummies around the house, in case the shot shows up. It's like a booby traps for him. He shows up, he's like, smash. I'm like, haha, that was fake. That was a Pentium 4 from fucking 1993. It's not. That's
hilarious. I wouldn't break those computers. Come on.
Ooh, what if it was a shit? What's the Apple one? Like the Commodore or something? Like the really old one.
Yeah.
What if it was like one of those and I was playing on that? Would you smash it? Would you betray your love of Apple for your friendship?
No, just take it away. Why would I smash it? What you mean?
He's like, this is mine now. You don't need this.
Yeah, honestly, looking back, I should have just taken it away too.
And then you start playing, and then like you're the one that becomes addicted to it.
And then we switch roles.
Like every few months, we just go back and forth.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
But yeah, you could be addicted to damn near anything, and the gambling that you do. It could be video games, it could be with money on the line, right? But I think just much like anxiety, if you start recognizing those signs, you can hopefully talk to somebody else, share with a friend, and then kind of pull back from it, right? Yeah.
I mean, during gambling too, right? There is this whole anxiety of it when you're down to your last money. There's so many different things, right? Like there's financial anxiety if you're down to the last of your money, right? And there's nothing left, and like, especially if you're not financially well off, you're just like, now you're kind of thinking about and feeling anxious about the last of your money going away. There's the anxiety like right before something happens, right? Like there's excitement too, but as the slot machines, the things are turning, right? Like that feeling you get before it actually reveals, right? Like as it's keeping you waiting, that like heightened, elevated feelings that you have. So there's a lot, and I mean, if you're already an anxious person, that can just make it a little bit worse, right? You can sit there and you might think that, hey, I'm escaping to go play and to gamble, at first it might make you feel a little bit better because you might win, $5, $10, $100, $200, whatever it is, $1,000. But then you kind of, if you don't leave, if you don't know when to walk away, then you keep playing, and slowly that excitement fades and becomes more anxiety than anything else. And again, the house always wins. So at the end of the day, if you play long enough, you're gonna lose it all, unfortunately. Just gotta keep that in mind. As is with anxiety, the longer you play into it, the worse it's gonna be. So you gotta recognize the signs. Get out when you can, and then try to figure out what you can do. Right? Get better. Look into what you can do to slowly recover from the addiction or from or learn how to manage the anxiety.
I really liked what you just said because it illustrates how. Let me take a step back. A lot of times when we're talking about anxiety, you can frame it as excitement. They're very similar, right? Very similar feelings. So I'm anxious about going to this party, right? I'm nervous. I'm going to see people. Maybe I haven't seen people in a while, COVID, lockdowns, whatever. Maybe I'm going to see my friend that I haven't seen in a while. Maybe some girl or guy or whatever, right? But if you frame it in your mind as, I'm excited to do this. I get to do this. This is going to be fun, like whatever. And you start looking at it from a different perspective, usually that kind of helps subside some of the anxiety. But with the gambling side, you start on the excited part, right? It's exciting. It's fun, right? You're hearing the noises, like, I don't know, is there like a smell associated with casinos? Maybe a buffet or something?
Cigarettes and alcohol.
Okay. Well, then I guess that's probably not as exciting as I thought it was going to be. But you get excited, and then that can lead to the anxiety, right? And it's all about finding the balance between those things, right? The balance of how much money are you actually okay with losing, right? And setting those boundaries with yourself and with others, and not letting you kind of go off the rails. Because what's interesting was watching a couple of these streamers stream, you'd hear them say, okay, one more spin of this game, and then we're done with this, right? One more, crazy big bet. I'm just going to start on the bonus instead of having to spin and then get 3 bonuses. I'm just going to start on that. One more and we're done. Well, then that one bet, like in the case where the guy was betting like $60K for a bonus play, he, only made back like $1,000. He's like, dude, that's such a shit return, right? One more. And next thing you know, he's blowing through hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's one more. And then even when you get to the big win, which helps cover your losses, you go, well, now we got a big win. Now we're on a big win streak. One more. Yeah. And I heard that phrase a lot, like last one, over and over and over again. And, I felt the same thing when I was playing like Diablo, because it's like, oh, just one more rift, one more this, like one more level to grind, whatever. And then I'm finally going to get that thing and I'm going to be happy. But what you don't realize is when you get that thing, there's just the next thing to get. Right. It's like I think it's the hedonistic treadmill, where like once you reach that level of happiness, there's always something else. And living on that high to high moment is very exciting in the beginning, but then it totally anxious once you can't live up to those highs anymore. And it's the same for a lot of stuff, right? It's like being like an adrenaline junkie, So just if it's teetering one way or another, try to get back to it. And I think the way I see it really now, and I wish I would have known this back then, is if you haven't watched last week's episode with Pellegrino, check that out. But essentially, I couldn't communicate that I was so focused on the game because of other crap going on in my life. Because at the time I was worried about, I wasn't worried about graduating. I was worried about what's after graduation. Right. Like getting a job and what does my life look like and all this stuff. So I was so focused on the game that I was tuning out everything else. But I didn't know how to communicate those things and say, yeah, I'm worried about this. And also, I'm kind of ashamed that, now I don't care about the story of like, my girlfriend went to sleep. And then I'm like, hey, I'm just going to play for another 6 hours. Right? It's kind of a funny thing now. But then I was like, oh, like, I felt like bad about it. So I didn't want to tell anybody like, oh, yeah, dude, I played, 40 hours of Diablo this week. And like, well, don't you work 40 hours at your job? Like, yeah, I know. So imagine how much I slept. Things like that. And, if you're struggling, the best thing you can do is ask somebody for help, because the majority of people, of course, there's always the exception to the rule. Somebody will tell you a bad story about, I reached out to my friend and he told me to fuck off. But the majority of people will return the favor. They will help you, and they will be there to support you. Right. Sometimes
that help may be a bat to the computer, but they'll help in one way or another.
Yes, it did help. Like I said, I only logged in the one time, and I was scared. But I was like, it's in the middle of the night. He won't be on. And then I was worried, right? Because I mean, I'm pretty sure you were serious and you would have actually shown up. Maybe you wouldn't have smashed it. You probably was taken away from me. But, to this day.
I would have smashed it.
I fucking know you would have. To this day, when I tell that story, man, I'm like, oh, God. I almost kind of like, if I had a time machine, I want to go back and I want to just be playing during the day and just like witness you smashing my computer and then come back to this timeline. Because I think it would just be a hilarious lesson that I probably needed to learn sooner than later. And I learned it a few years later.
You need to go into the multiverse for that one. To the timeline where I actually smash it.
It's all other timelines except for this one.
Possibly. But yeah. I think that's the episode for this week. Thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you took a gamble on this podcast and this is the first episode you've listened to, you hit the jackpot because ding, 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 ding. Best podcast you've ever heard. Anyway, thank you all again. Stay safe, stay healthy. And we'll talk to you all again not next week. Talk to you all again in 2 weeks. I'm going to be taking a break next week. But we'll be back with a very special episode the week after. Thank you all again. Take care. And good luck.